Hello, I'm Freddy Gray, the Deputy Editor and US Editor of The Spectator, and I am delighted to announce that we have a very, very special live event lined up for you, and it's a special Americano live podcast. It'll take place on Monday, the 3rd of November, and for the first time ever, we have not one, but two titans of the transatlantic conservative movement. We have Coulter, the great American commentator.
And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
And we also have Peter Hitchens, the similarly great but rather different British commentator.
I suppose I would class myself as being similar to the conservatives in America who describe themselves as never Trumpers. Yes. I've never been impressed by this man. I don't like what I see of him, and although he's the most skillful politician since the late Princess Diana of Wales, he is not by any means a pleasant or kind or particularly moral man.
These two giants will go head-to-head over the defining question of our era, and certainly of this year: has Trump made America great again?
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
Now, it's important to note that the first 15 minutes of this event will be free to watch on our YouTube channel, but the live stream of the show in its entirety is exclusively for Spectator magazine subscribers. So, if you want to watch the whole thing, you'll need to head to spectator.co.uk/live to subscribe and view the whole thing. You can take advantage of our special offer at the moment, which is that for £3 only, you can get 3 months of The Spectator. That provides access to all of our live streams, all our daily commentary, our podcasts, and all our videos.
In the Oval Office, border fortified, Truth Social's firing, and cinematic flyovers. Is this an epic win or an epic spin? Let's find out. Please welcome to the stage your host, The Spectator's Deputy and US Editor, Freddy Gray.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. This is our third Americano Live, and they've all been good so far, so I hope this one lives up to it. We are going to start with something slightly awkward, so please try. It's an interactive poll, which hopefully will come up on the screen. This is not the actual question. This is just a fun little starter question to see how we go. So if you could all try and answer that, you scan the QR code. And oh look, the votes are already coming in. Oh, it actually works, amazingly. So while you're doing that, I'm going to do a few introductory remarks, and then we're going to do a serious poll at the end of that bit, and then I will bring out our guests. I thought I'd start by saying that it was almost exactly a year ago today that I was at an election night party, a Trump election night party in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I was next to a Texan lady who was wearing a MAGA hat. And when Pennsylvania came in, and it was very clear that Trump had won, there was sort of an amazing moment of kind of exhilaration and jubilation. And she turned to me and she said, "God has saved our country." And I wanted to say to her, could God possibly consider saving mine now? But I stopped short. I did not say that. But divine intervention is a theme of this second Trump presidency. Certainly it is for Donald Trump. He has said repeatedly in numerous speeches that God spared him from an assassin's bullet in Pennsylvania and saved him so that he could make America great again. The he being Trump, not God. I think it's important to establish that. But it has been this sort of atmosphere of a divine mission about the second Trump presidency, which I find quite interesting. And it explains some of the frenetic energy of the first 10 months of his presidency. And I've just done a little list of just a few things that Trump has done in this frenetic 10 months. He's imposed tariffs on almost all of the world. He has taken unprecedented steps to fix the crisis at the southern border. He has sent in troops to several American cities. He has argued with Volodymyr Zelensky and Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, in the Oval Office. He has threatened Nigeria and Venezuela with war. He has threatened to annex Greenland and perhaps even Canada. He has bombed Iran and also declared peace, perhaps rightly, in the Holy Land. And he has gone to war with Harvard and dismantled the Department for Education. But I'm just scratching the surface there. That's just a few bullet points of what he's done. And what we're going to be discussing tonight is whether all this activity, all this madness and activity, has made America stronger or not. And to debate this question, I think we've got two absolutely fantastic guests. The first is Ann Coulter, who's a great American commentator. She's flown over from New York to join us, so we're thrilled that she's here. Ann, in my opinion, is one of the most important, if not the most important commentator of the last 20 years, American commentator of the last 20 years. In June 2015, a lot of you may have seen this on the internet, June 2015, so before the kind of presidential election cycle had started, she was asked on the Bill Maher show, which Republican candidate is the most likely to be the next president of the United States? And she said, as things stand, Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump. And the whole crowd laughed and laughed and mocked her violently. And of course, she was right. And it turns out that actually Ann has played a very important role in Trump's presidency because he read her book. He's one of these people, he's one of these rare people, I think, Donald Trump, who's written more books than he's read. But he has apparently read Adios, America, which was Ann's book about illegal immigration. And that actually formed a large part of his initial campaign. He used a lot of the language from that book and so on. And Ann is not, I wouldn't call her a Trump sycophant by any means. She turned very aggressively against him in his first term, but is very, very pleased with him in the second term. So she's going to be arguing that America is great again. And to oppose Ann, we thought we'd find a kind of lily-livered, bleeding-heart liberal, a kind of global ambassador for wokery, and we turned immediately to the natural choice, which is Peter Hitchens. But Peter does call himself a never Trumper. But what I love about Peter, well, I love lots of things about Peter, but one of the things I love about him is that he is a very unconventional never Trumper. And he opposes Trump on strong moral grounds. He has issues with his foreign policy. So he's going to be saying, I asked him if he'd be saying the opposite to what Ann's saying, and he said, I'll just say something different. So we'll see about that. Let's see, how's this poll going? Can we get the poll back up? There we go. A large majority of you think that Donald Trump should be king, which says something about the state of the royal family, I think. But we're now going to ask the proper question, the real poll question tonight, which is, should come up. It's not coming up. This is Theresa May once said, never work with children's animals or the Spectator. Here we go. Is America great again? Here we go. So the poll question will be coming up, and I'll stop blabbing on, and I will introduce our wonderful guests, Ann Coulter and Peter Hitchens. Thank you. Peter's brought a Make America Great Again cap. Perversely, since he's supposed to be arguing the opposite. Well, I think let's just start with maybe 2 minutes from each of you on the question of the night. Is America great again? And Ann, you believe America is great again. In fact, you said in an email to us that you are quite adamant about this.
Yes, I am. And if this had been during Trump's first term, I would have been taking Peter's side. Those of you who follow me assiduously on Twitter know that I was a little bit critical of him to the point that we started calling one another really nasty names. But now it took 8 years, and I got everything I wrote the book In Trump We Trust for. The most important issue facing, I think, both of our countries is immigration and whether America, the UK, will continue to be America. And like the UK, in fact, like I think countries throughout Europe and America, the people keep voting for less immigration, and the politicians keep giving us more immigration. You got it with Boris Johnson, we got it with Trump, term one. I think a country ought to be, I mean, we have to respect the indigenous cultures of every, third world backward hellhole, but we can't have any concern for our culture. I would say cultures, you are the mother country, the most beautiful, glistening cultures in the world. It went into overdrive under Biden, and luckily, it just took 2 impeachments and 90 criminal indictments, and bam, Trump has come out shooting. So the deportations are going like mad. To some extent, and I totally approve of this, he's ignoring these ridiculous district court judges who do not, we have 3 co-equal branches of government. I love that word, co-equal. Why not equal? And there are about 1,000 federal judges. There is 1 president. He holds all the executive power in his hands. What the district court judges are doing is completely unconstitutional. Among the many things I've been waiting for some Republican president to do is to ignore courts when they rule unconstitutionally. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives the courts any precedence over the commander-in-chief, the president. And it's not only immigration. I mean, he's going after crime. I'm totally for the tariffs. We'll see what happens. The Supreme Court rules on them this week. But he genuinely is, on every issue, putting America first. Does this harm Americans? How about no more stupid wars in the Balkans, in Central Europe, in the Middle East? No, let's go after the enemies on America's border who are killing Americans with drugs. On every issue you look at, what concerns Americans, and he will put Americans first. One thing that has been true for 30 years is, even when employment figures go up, who's getting the jobs? Foreigners are. Not under Trump. There have been, of all of the new jobs that have been added, overwhelmingly, they've been Americans and not immigrants, not the foreign-born. For all this time, Americans have been asking less immigration, bring the jobs back, bring back manufacturing, no more stupid wars. And Republicans keep saying, oh, let's be Reagan. Let's invade foreign countries and cut taxes. No, we've cut taxes enough. What people want is jobs. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that he can get it all done in 4 years, but he seems to be trying. And I'm hoping for another 8 years with J.D. Vance, Trump, without the juvenile idiocy.
Peter.
I can't actually see how many of you might be Americans. But if you aren't, the question has to rise, why would you want America to be great again? It doesn't seem to me to have been hugely beneficial to this country that America has become enormously great, and I personally would quite like it to be medium-sized. As I think quite a lot of Canadians would also like it to be medium-sized, lest it gets too big for the territory it occupies. So there's no particular reason why any of us here who are not Americans should be particularly concerned as to that America should become great again in the first place, and one needs first of all to think of that. The other question, which I think is interesting here for conservatives, which I think I am, is that we look around the world, we sit in our tiny studies surrounded by our piles of slithering paper, wondering what it is that we could do to combat perhaps now 60 years of cultural, moral, social, and economic revolution, to try and put it right, to put right a world which has been seriously wrecked and destroyed by the left. And there's a temptation to be like Dr. Faustus, to look out into the world and think, oh, what would I give? What would I give for somebody to come along who could actually take on these appalling left-wingers, to stop immigration, to crush crime, to make it absolutely plain that the world was actually not as the left have proclaimed it to be. And I think quite a lot of people, looking at Donald J. Trump, might have thought that however unappealing he may be, and he is, I'm sure we will discuss later on, extremely unappealing, that he might just be the thing that we want. Well, as Dr. Faustus discovered towards the end of Christopher Marlowe's play, it was different with Goethe, but as he discovered towards the end of Christopher Marlowe's play, it doesn't work out like that. If you make bargains with people like that, then I'm afraid you always lose. I think the characteristics of Donald Trump have been made absolutely plain over and over again. Lawless, unconstitutional, unconcerned with the traditions which conservatives are rightly absolutely preoccupied. I think the metaphor of the destruction of the East Wing of the White House in order to build a ballroom is quite interesting, because it also applies to his treatment of the rule of law of judges, to his unpleasant habit, which I agree he's learned from others, of pursuing through the courts those who offend him, that he discovered that he had the power to demolish something which had been there, that nobody could or would stop him, and so he just did it. I do not think that a country which falls under the rule of somebody who just discovers how much power he has and uses it to the limits, and who makes people so frightened of him that they let him get away with it, I think that's going to make anything great again. America, the world, democracy, freedom, the rule of law, or anything which conservatives could possibly desire.
Well, let's start unpacking that. And I'll start with you. Firstly, that's a fairly good point Peter makes about why should British people care whether America's great again? Perhaps we shouldn't.
Well, first of all, thanks, and if you can repeat everything you want me to respond to, because I really couldn't hear that. I heard you directly and the mic differently. It was an echo, so do you just repeat it? I heard why.
If I may say, I have the same difficulty.
Okay.
I have been known to go down to the audience when the sound system's been like this. I can't hear you, even though I'm sitting 2 feet away.
Did everyone else hear it? That's rather important.
No, they're not sitting
They
next
can
to
hear.
it. Yeah,
we can't hear each other.
But I heard constitutional, moral, and why should we care? I think every country in the world, I'd say particularly the UK, but every country in the world should care whether America is great again, time and again, whether it's whether we're saving the rest of the world from warlords, Nazis, hurricanes, tsunamis, starvation, authoritarianism, communism. You think Mexico's gonna save you? You think Uganda's going to jump in the next time there's a massive warlord or starvation someplace in the world? It's the last Christian country on earth. It is lights out for humanity when America is gone. I would think that would be of particular concern to the UK, especially now, because you seem to be going down about 20 years after us, the really stupid, politically correct DEI stuff. And one of the things I didn't even mention that's so great about Trump is he's just come in and said, okay, that's it, no more discrimination against white males. And that has been policy, official open policy in academia, in corporate America, in government contracting. I mean, it's utterly preposterous, outrageous, violating our Constitution. And with the stroke of the pen, not only has Trump ended it, but I'm pretty sure that the corporations, the law firms, the universities are all saying, oh, thank God he's making us not do this anymore. We were looking for a way to get out of it. And I think if you guys are lucky and you have Farage as your prime minister in a few years, you could have the same beneficial effect of just having one man to show that these policies are popular. Trump's, I'm sorry, I'm going on too long, but Trump's re-election in 2024 was kind of a shocker. Maybe not as big as 2016, but it was pretty big. They had spent so long fascist, authoritarian, it's Hitlerian. Oh, I remember a time in Germany long ago. I mean, they threw everything at him they had, and he won in a landslide, and I think that shook the left to its core to see, oh my gosh, Americans hate our guts.
Peter, please respond to that, because, I mean, it is, Anne mentions Nigel Farage, it is interesting, isn't it, that it seems to me that all the parties now are aping Trump in a lot of their language. Kemi Badenoch is talking about ICE-style deportation squads. Keir Starmer's trying to sound Trumpy on immigration. And you know, these are things that you, in your writing, you've talked about a lot. You think we should restrict immigration. You think sort of free market orthodoxy, globalist thinking has wrecked the West. And Donald Trump is the one leader in the free world that seems to be doing something about it.
Well, the problem is that I raised these issues about 25 years ago, when there still existed in this country, I believe, enough conservative-minded people in politics, in the academy, in the media, to sustain the creation of a genuinely conservative movement. And I warned in 2010 that the triumph of David Cameron, which everybody seemed to be so keen on, would in fact destroy conservatism in this country, which it has done. The problem with what we now see is that an awful lot of people are borrowing ideas they only half understand from a country which is very different from ours, and I don't find them convincing or likely to succeed. The work of changing society, and I speak as an ex-Marxist-Leninist who tried very hard to do it back in the 1960s in the opposite direction. The work of changing a society is a very long, slow march through the institutions, which my side conducted. And you're not going to get an instant reversal of it by the shouting of slogans, and particularly you're not going to get an instant reversal of it by trying to make yourself popular, by picking on issues which people are worried about when you don't actually have any real solution. And we see all over the continent of Europe people who, particularly comes to mind Giorgia Meloni, who came to office promising all kinds of things which she simply has not been able to deliver. And I don't think that Marine Le Pen or the AfD in Germany or indeed Nigel Farage in this country will be able to deliver these things any more, I have to say, than Donald Trump has done. The Trump presidency is performative. A lot of very noisy, spectacular things happen, but the fundamental problems which were being debated among American conservatives when I lived there in the 1990s are not changing. The mass immigration has happened. The takeover of the sphere of education and politics by the left has happened. You aren't going to reverse that by a few simple, noisy, well-televised policies. It's a long, long struggle. And I think that we have to realize that what looks to me increasingly like an Americanized takeover of our politics, and that is very much how it feels to me, in which old strands of English conservatism, which is very different from American conservatism for a number of reasons. It's not monarchist, it's not Anglican, and it has other priorities, is not actually benefiting the conservative cause, and I'm not prepared to say that I think that it does.
And first of all, did you hear it? And secondly, I promised you we didn't just talk about Britain, if you did. We are surrounded by American, but Peter was talking about American conservatism there and saying that Trump actually, for all the gestures, is not changing things. Is that right?
No, it's great if you stay seated. I
hope that you're enjoying this conversation I'm having with Ann Coulter and Peter Hitchens. I'm sure you are. And if you want to continue watching, you'll have to be a Spectator subscriber, I'm afraid. So if you're not signed up yet, don't worry, you can subscribe and take advantage of our special offer, which is for £3, just £3. You get 3 months of The Spectator. To do that, head to spectator.co.uk/live and don't miss another moment of this fascinating conversation.